Queen Camilla has spent decades walking on eggshells, battling whispers, headlines, and the ghost of a princess the world still mourns. Despite her faults, you can't deny the fact that she earned her place beside King Charles. And she did it through quiet perseverance and an unshakable loyalty to the crown. For years, she believed the worst was behind her. But now, everything she's built may be crumbling. King Charles's recent health struggles have triggered a wave of speculation across the kingdom. Behind palace walls, insiders whisper about abdication, succession, and quiet family meetings not involving Camilla. There are growing speculations around the king's fading public appearances, his emotionally distant expressions, and, above all, his surprising closeness to Kate Middleton. According to one royal aide, Camilla's heart sank the moment she heard what Charles had decided. While we may never know the full truth of that conversation, what we do know is this: the king's next move could change Camilla's fate forever. This is the shocking decision that allegedly left Queen Camilla in tears, and the ripple effect it may have across the monarchy and the world. In February 2024, Buckingham Palace made an announcement that rippled through the world like a quiet thunderclap. King Charles III had been diagnosed with cancer.
King Charles has opened up about his cancer battle, sharing a highly unusual personal message.
The statement was brief, carefully worded, and deliberately vague. No details were given about the specific type of cancer or which stage it was at the time. All the public was told was that the king had begun outpatient treatment and would scale back his public duties while continuing to receive state documents and remain engaged. But behind that diplomatic language, insiders say the atmosphere inside the palace was anything but calm. Camilla, according to royal aides, tried to remain composed, stoic as ever, one insider noted, but in private, the news hit hard. This wasn't just about a king battling illness. It was about the future of the crown and what his illness might force him to do. What followed was a series of subtle changes that didn't go unnoticed by the press. First, Charles canceled his annual skiing trip, a beloved tradition he'd upheld for decades. His doctors reportedly warned him against any activities that could increase physical stress or risk. For a monarch known for his outdoorsy spirit and lifelong love of the Alps, this decision signaled more than just medical caution.
Buckingham Palace has said King Charles spent a short period of time in hospital today.
It signaled the beginning of a lifestyle shift. Then came the shorter public engagements, the scaled-back appearances, and for the first time, everyone could see a notable change in Charles's expression, from the tired eyes and careful postures to the smiles that seemed rehearsed. But what caught royal watchers off guard was how the king, even while undergoing treatment, continued to pursue diplomatic engagements behind closed doors. According to senior sources, he remained active in corresponding with world leaders, especially in the Commonwealth. He even helped coordinate a high-level discussion with Canadian Parliament members and is believed to have pushed for more direct royal involvement in Ukraine diplomacy and environmental advocacy. He refuses to disappear, one palace staffer said. Even with this diagnosis, he still thinks about duty. And that's what makes this moment so complex. Because as the public applauded his bravery, others saw something different. A monarch pushing himself beyond reason. A king who might not be willing to let go until it's too late. And Queen Camilla? She watched all of this unfold. She stood beside him, day after day. But if the king was hiding something deeper about his plans, his health, or the throne, he wasn't telling her everything. To understand why Queen Camilla may have been left in tears, you have to understand how much she's fought to be where she is today. For decades, she was never Camilla, the future queen.
3/4 of a century old she might be, but Camilla will soon take on the biggest role of her life as the next queen consort.
She was the other woman, the tabloid villain, the woman blamed for the unraveling of Princess Diana's fairy tale. And despite her marriage to Charles in 2005, that stigma never fully disappeared. Even when Queen Elizabeth gave her official blessing, declaring in 2022 that it was her sincere wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort, it didn't magically win the public over. Approval ratings remained mixed. Public gossip forums stayed tense. Whenever Camilla made an appearance, whispers of Diana's memory followed her like a shadow. But instead of lashing out or retreating, Camilla took a different route. She worked quietly, consistently, tirelessly. She championed causes often ignored by the upper crust of royalty. Causes like domestic abuse, literacy, and osteoporosis awareness, to name a few. And in 2021, she launched her passion project, the Queen's Reading Room, a charitable initiative promoting the power of storytelling and education. By 2023, it was formally established as an independent charity. And that was the moment people started seeing her in a new light. Her approval ratings began to tick upward. Slowly, yes, but noticeably. A 2024 YouGov poll showed a meaningful bump in her favorability, especially among older voters who admired her no-nonsense, service-driven approach to her role. She's not trying to be Diana, one political commentator wrote, and maybe that's the smartest thing she's ever done. But here's the tragedy. Just as Camilla was starting to step out of Diana's shadow, Charles's health crisis pulled her back into the unknown. Because if Charles were to step down, or even just quietly transfer power to Prince William, Camilla's future becomes alarmingly uncertain. Would she still be called Queen? Would the public still support her? Or would she be seen as the Queen who never truly was?
The Queen recognizing Camilla's loyal service by kicking off her Platinum Jubilee year with the request that she be known as Queen Consort.
And worse, would the institution simply repackage the next chapter as a fresh start with William and Kate, quietly brushing Camilla aside after all she's endured? Sources close to the palace say this fear isn't just speculation. It's something Camilla herself has expressed in private. And if that fear is now becoming reality, then her tears aren't just about the man she loves. They're about the crown she was never supposed to wear slipping from her grasp all over again. At first, it was just a murmur, the kind of soft speculation that swirls through royal circles whenever something feels off. But then came the cancelled appearances, the reduced public schedule, the tightened lips at Buckingham Palace. And suddenly, that murmur turned into something louder. Is King Charles preparing to abdicate the throne? It's a question the monarchy has refused to address directly. But inside the palace, multiple sources claim the topic has already come up behind closed doors. According to one royal insider, private meetings with senior staff have taken a noticeably different tone in recent months, focusing less on Charles's future engagements and more on how things would function without him at the center. It was late 2024 when Buckingham Palace made an unexpected announcement that an unscheduled national broadcast would air that evening. Social media exploded. Many believed this would be the moment that Charles, in a moment of solemn clarity, would step aside and name Prince William as his successor. But when the broadcast came, there was no grand abdication, no dramatic transition. Instead, the royal media read a script, assuring the world that King Charles is battling hard and winning his fight against the cancer troubling him.
Announcement today and says the cancer was discovered during
Even though the king acknowledged the challenges of his diagnosis, he emphasized his desire to remain fully engaged. That was a masterclass in royal deflection. But that wasn't enough to kill the rumors. It only fed them even more. Because while Charles said he would stay on the throne, his actions told a more complicated story. In the months that followed, his appearances dwindled. Some engagements were reportedly shortened or quietly handed off to other royals. Behind the scenes, staff were told to remain flexible with the king's schedule. And then came the biggest red flag. Reports emerged that Kate Middleton, not Prince William, had been meeting privately with the king. Why was the Princess of Wales having solo discussions with her father-in-law about the future of the monarchy. And why wasn't Camilla present? Some believe Charles is laying the groundwork for a slow, behind-the-scenes handover. A source called it a transition without the crown ever physically changing hands, a way to keep his title but shift the responsibilities. Others argue it's just a precaution, a safety net. But either way, Camilla's alleged exclusion from these conversations is impossible to ignore. Because if the king is preparing to pass the torch, and she's not part of that decision, then what does that mean for her place in the royal story? In a monarchy built on tradition, the role of the Princess of Wales has always been clear: support, smile, serve. But in recent months, Kate Middleton's role has shifted quietly but powerfully. And now, palace insiders say she's become one of the most important figures in King Charles's inner circle. After both Charles and Kate revealed their cancer diagnoses in early 2024,
and we are following breaking news. Kate Middleton has revealed she has been diagnosed with cancer.
a surprising bond began to form between them, one that reportedly deepened in private. According to one palace aide, they were suddenly speaking the same language, both going through treatments, both balancing public life with personal vulnerability. But that connection, insiders say, may have evolved into something more than just emotional support. Because while Prince William continues to take on more royal duties, quietly preparing for the future, it's Kate who's been holding closed-door meetings with the king, regularly, sometimes without her husband even present. Why? Some say it's purely advisory. Kate has proven herself to be one of the monarchy's most trusted public figures. Her approval ratings are sky-high. She's popular across generations, and she's successfully navigated years of intense media scrutiny without scandal. To many, she embodies exactly what a modern monarchy needs to survive. She's seen as the crown's best PR weapon, one royal commentator said. If you're planning a future transition, she's the person you want on your side. But others think these meetings suggest something deeper, that the king may be entrusting Kate with more than just advice, that he's consulting her about the succession itself, about how to guide William into power, how to shape a monarchy that appeals to a younger generation, and how to do it without tearing the institution apart. What makes this even more intriguing and possibly heartbreaking is that Queen Camilla is reportedly not involved in these meetings at all. For a woman who stood beside Charles through decades of scandal and public rejection, this exclusion cuts deep. Some insiders claim she only learned about the frequency of these meetings secondhand, and that it's added to the emotional toll she's been carrying in recent months. If Kate Middleton is now playing a quiet but strategic role in what comes next, and Camilla is being left out, then maybe this isn't just about health or even succession. Maybe it's about who gets to shape the monarchy's future and who gets written out of it. If there's one name that still echoes through every hallway of Buckingham Palace, it's Diana's. More than 25 years after her tragic death,
that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
Princess Diana's presence has never truly faded. Her image remains iconic. Her humanitarian work is still celebrated. Her story of pain, betrayal, and resilience still defines how the public sees the royal family. And for Camilla, that shadow has never lifted. Despite being queen consort, despite her years of quiet service, and despite the late Queen Elizabeth's endorsement, Camilla is still viewed by many as the woman who disrupted Diana's union. To the public, she's the reason Charles and Diana's marriage shattered into tiny pieces. According to a recent YouGov historical favorability poll, Diana still ranks as the most admired modern royal, far ahead of Camilla and even King Charles himself. And the wildest part is that every documentary, tribute, or anniversary only strengthens that divide. She'll never outrun it, one royal historian noted. Diana is etched into Britain's collective memory. Camilla is a footnote, no matter how long she reigns. That painful truth may be at the core of what's unraveling now. Because if Charles steps down and William and Kate ascend, the media narrative will shift immediately. Diana will once again be front and center. Every headline will reference her son taking the throne. The people's princess will be vindicated in the public eye. And Camilla? She risks being quietly pushed aside, rebranded, reduced. Sources close to the Queen say she fears exactly that. That all her charitable work, all her effort to rehabilitate her image, will be eclipsed by a single memory the world refuses to let go of. And if Kate Middleton is rising in influence while Diana's legacy looms over everything, then Camilla's place in the future becomes even more uncertain. Because in a monarchy ruled as much by emotion as by bloodline, public memory is power. And no one, not even a queen, can escape the legend of Diana. As the royal family faces internal uncertainty, an even greater challenge is brewing outside the palace walls, one that threatens the monarchy's very relevance in the modern world. Across the Commonwealth, countries that once pledged allegiance to the British crown are reconsidering that loyalty, and they're no longer subtle about it. In 2021, Barbados cut ties with the monarchy, officially becoming a republic. At the time, it was seen as symbolic, a nod to post-colonial independence, but it turned out to be just the beginning. Now, in 2025, Jamaica is set to follow suit, with formal legislation already underway to remove King Charles as head of state. The country's government has publicly stated its intention to hold a referendum, and polls show overwhelming support for the move. In Australia, a new wave of Republican sentiment has swept through politics and media alike. Protesters greeted King Charles and Queen Camilla during their 2024 visit to Sydney, holding signs that read, "Not our king." It's been reported that Canadian activists are ramping up efforts to push for a constitutional review of the monarchy's role, something that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. Even within the UK itself, the monarchy's grip on public support is shifting. Among Gen Z and millennials, favorability has dropped dramatically. More than half of younger Brits now say they would prefer an elected head of state. It's not just about tradition anymore, one commentator explained. It's about money, transparency, and relevance. People are asking, what exactly does the monarchy give us back? The numbers support this skepticism. For instance, the cost of maintaining the royal family, reportedly over $100 million annually, is under increasing scrutiny amid a rising cost of living crisis. And as Charles attempts to modernize the monarchy through sustainability and streamlined operations, critics say those changes are too little, too late. Even Camilla hasn't escaped the global heat. During the Australia and Caribbean tours, she was met with icy receptions and cold press coverage, an unspoken reminder that her title may carry more controversy than legitimacy in many corners of the Commonwealth. Now, the question is, what does this mean for the king's decision? Well, the simple answer is everything. If Charles truly believes the monarchy needs to evolve to survive, then passing the throne to a younger, more globally palatable generation like William and Kate might not be just a personal decision. It could be the monarchy's last real shot at staying alive on the world stage.
The past few weeks have had a rather medical focus, so I thought I'd come to an air ambulance function to get away from it all.
On paper, King Charles is still very much the reigning monarch. His portrait hangs in official buildings. His signature still seals royal decrees. And yet, something behind the scenes is changing. Insiders say a private transition may already be underway. Not through grand ceremonies or televised announcements, but through subtle reassignments and quiet reshuffling of royal duties. If you look closely, you'd see that the changes are not so subtle. Prince William has been appearing more frequently at high-level events traditionally reserved for the sovereign. Events like diplomatic receptions, military ceremonies, and state briefings, to name a few. At first, it was explained as a temporary delegation due to the king's health. But as weeks turned to months, observers began to wonder, is William already being groomed not just as the next king, but as the shadow monarch of now? Royal experts say yes. According to constitutional insiders, Charles has intentionally narrowed the list of working royals down to a small, tightly controlled circle, placing William and Kate at the forefront while stepping back from day-to-day ceremonial life. Even the king's weekly audiences with the Prime Minister have been reportedly reduced in frequency, with some duties now relayed via briefings. Now, where is Queen Camilla in all of this? Oddly absent. One senior aide allegedly told a tabloid that Camilla has been kept at arm's length from recent succession conversations, not out of malice, but strategy. Charles is making these plans quietly. He wants no leaks, no friction. That means keeping things on a need-to-know basis, even with those closest to him. For Camilla, this exclusion stings. Some speculate this was always the plan, that Charles, aware of how polarizing Camilla remains, knew her presence in a future William-led monarchy would be diplomatically difficult. Others argue he's simply trying to spare her the pain of witnessing the dismantling of everything they built bit by bit. Either way, the optics are undeniable. William and Kate are rising. Charles is receding. And Camilla? She may be watching it all unfold from the outside, powerless to stop it.
I just only hope that when I'm dead and gone, they might appreciate it a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes that happens.
For much of her royal life, Queen Camilla has worn composure like armor. No matter how sharp the headlines, how loud the protests, or how heavy the whispers of Diana's legacy, she has smiled, waved, and moved forward. But in recent months, something has changed about her demeanor. At public events, her trademark calm has started to crack. Not dramatically, not loudly, but if you've watched closely, you've probably seen it. The way her smile no longer quite reaches her eyes, the stiffness in her posture, the way she scans a room before engaging. Royal body language experts have pointed it out. So have veteran palace correspondents. She looks like someone carrying something very heavy, one insider noted. Not just stress, but heartbreak. At first, many chalked it up to Charles's illness. After all, the couple has been married for nearly 2 decades, and Camilla has supported the king through personal and political storms. When asked about his cancer diagnosis early on, she gave a brief, practiced response. Charles is doing very well. But those who know her said that wasn't the whole story. Behind closed doors, Camilla was reportedly in tears more than once. The rumor going around is about a private family gathering early this year, where discussions about the future of the monarchy took place. Camilla reportedly left visibly shaken. She allegedly felt blindsided by how much had already been planned without her input. And that's the part that hurts the most. It's not just about the king's abdication. It's the part that the monarchy she helped steady might go on without her. Because if Charles steps down, even unofficially, Camilla's title becomes murky. Will she remain queen consort, be rebranded, or quietly fade into the background as William and Kate take center stage? Some royal watchers say this fear is triggering old wounds, the same public rejection she endured during the Diana years. Others suggest she's afraid her entire legacy will be reduced to a footnote in someone else's reign. And while she continues to appear in public, downplaying rumors and deflecting questions, the truth may be harder to hide. Because no matter how carefully she composes herself, the king's decision has already changed her. And some believe it may have broken her.
Well, that's what I've been trying to encourage people to think about again, to break the conventional mold.
With the king's health in question, Queen Camilla's emotions running high, and Prince William's shadow growing longer, the royal family finds itself at a historic crossroads. Some believe the monarchy is entering an unspoken co-leadership phase, where Charles retains the crown. But Prince William gradually assumes more of the power, presence, and responsibility. It's a strategy that allows for continuity without making a dramatic, destabilizing change. For Camilla, the danger of such a move is more personal than political. And for the public, the future is just as murky. Do they want Charles to remain? Or are they simply waiting for William and Kate to bring a more relatable, modern face to the crown? Recent surveys suggest the answer is generational. Older Brits support Charles's reign and appreciate his decades of preparation. But younger voters, especially Gen Z, are already thinking ahead. To them, the monarchy should reflect the times, not just preserve tradition. So, where does that leave us? With a king who won't let go, a queen who's possibly being left behind, and a nation quietly holding its breath, waiting to see who will shape the monarchy's future and who will quietly disappear from it. So the final question is, what now? What do you think about all this? Is an abdication already in motion? Or is this just another chapter in the monarchy's long, complicated survival? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal stories that go beyond the headlines.